All right, everyone. So we are moving on to part 2, and in this, we are going to do some more animated texture techniques in addition to some dynamic movement. We're going to bring a little bit of the graph editor back in. So first, we'll go ahead and create the eye and all the textures and everything there, and then we'll add the animation in. All right, so what we're gonna do is just create a new composition. So 1920, this one will be by 1080, and we'll go ahead and have it be 8 seconds long. So go ahead and change your settings if yours are still on the settings from the paper texture composition. So I'm gonna hit OK. Here we go. So we're gonna just start by building out our simple assets. So first we need a new solid layer in the background there, and I'm gonna make this a little bit of a darker blue, I think, somewhere in that arena. Perfect. Hitting OK, OK. I'm hitting the wrong OK. There we go. So there's a darkish blue muted background, and so I'm also going to do a new shape layer, and I'm going to come on over and grab my ellipse tool here, and I'm just going to click and drag, and I'm going to hold my shift key down while I do that so that I have a perfect sphere. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and just center that up, and I am going to change the fill color to white. Now, instead of redoing the shape layer a couple of times, I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this. So I'm going to hit Command D twice, and for these, I'm going to rename them so that I'm nice and organized. So we've got eyeball, and then we are going to have the pupil. And then the iris as well. Okay, and then so I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna hit my S key to get scale, and I'm gonna just scale that down to where I think the iris should be. And I'm gonna go ahead and change the fill color. I think I had a green iris. You can use obviously whatever color you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. And it's not gonna be easy to see because we still have this top iris that's covering the pupil right now. So I'm gonna hit scale, and I'm gonna bring that down, and you should see that iris reveal itself. So there we go. And this fill color is going to be a dark gray. So somewhere in there, I'm gonna hit OK. Now we've got everything centered here. So I'm going to go ahead and position those so that they're nice and centered. Okay, now we have our basic animation, and these assets on their own could be okay. They could look, this could be a very nice little eye animation, but I want to make it a little bit more dynamic. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, whoops, I keep moving the background layer, and that drives me crazy. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and lock the background layer, and I just realized I've got my mouse size down again. So just a moment, let me just go ahead and make that a little bit larger so that you can see it a little easier. So down here for the background layer, I'm gonna go ahead and lock that so that I'm not dragging it all the time. See, it's off the screen technically, so now I need to unlock it. I'm gonna move it down like so. And I'm actually just gonna make it a little bit bigger so that I see that it's covering the frame there, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and lock that. All right. So the iris I'm going to move that into the center of the green. Didn't really look like it was sitting quite right, but now it looks good. And what we're going to actually do is we are going to parent the iris with the pupil so that they move together with one another. So if right now, if I move the pupil, the iris doesn't, or I'm sorry, if I move the iris, the pupil doesn't move with it. And I want them to be kind of grouped together because I need them to stay together when I do the animation. So we'll be working with this later as building, in a more complex way. But right now, we're just going to work with it in simple terms. So if I click on the iris here and I come all the way down to the end of my menu, you're going to see a parent and link. And right now everything says none. If you don't see this, there's 2 accordions in which you can expand your access to items down here. And if you're not seeing that, then you need to expand or collapse your transfer controls, which is the second icon in the very bottom left, okay? So you see that we need to take this, what's called a pick whip. We're going to click down on it and we're going to drag and drop it on the pupil. And now you're going to see that the iris is a child of the pupil. Ooh, I have these backwards. Okay, I'm going to undo that. Let me see something here. I have these labeled incorrectly. No wonder I'm getting so mixed up. So this is the pupil, and this is the iris. You see, not only do you have to have them named, but they need to be named correctly. No wonder it was getting so confused. Okay. So now the pupil is going to be parented to the iris. So you can see here, if we want to see what it's linked to or who its parent is, it's here. And now when I come to move this iris around, you can see the pupil moves with it. They're like grouped together now. They're parent and child. So whenever the pupil or the iris moves, the pupil moves with it. Okay. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and start adding some texture to all of this. So I'm going to add 2 different types of texture. Did you see that there, by the way? The pupil will move independently if I have that layer selected. So just so you know, it can still move independently with itself, but whenever the iris itself gets moved, it'll move with it. But we don't want to move anything right now. Right now, we are actually going to create a new shape layer on the top, and what we want to do is we're going to be creating a shadow for the bottom of the eye, like this area here, because in my motion design world, the light's coming from up here. We want to create a little bit of a shadow so that we have some depth going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pen tool here and I'm just going to draw a shape. Oh, I see. It's blue, so it's really hard to see. Let me just go back in time. Okay, so it is dropping anchors. I just totally can't see them because my background is the same color as the path. So at first it's going to look real wonky. There's just 2 anchors dropped here, but I'm going to go around and it's going to complete my shape. Oh, now this is just really, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this layer off so I can see what is going on. And I am just going to start over. I guess I maybe could have just selected those and deleted the anchor points, but okay, new shape layer. So let's see, I can see what I'm doing now. So there's that line, and I can go in and make these curved here in just a moment. So now I have an area where my shade is going to be, but I do want to curve this. So I'm going to come down and do my convert vertex tool, and we're just going to round this out a bit. all of this doesn't really matter because it's not going to be seen anyways. So you just want to make sure what is overlapping is what you want to be seen. Let's see. Boy, I'm not doing a very good job at this right now. Let me just start over with this. So what I really want is to bring this down like so. And then I probably want to grab my pen tool again, and I want to bring these in a little bit. And maybe bring this up a bit. All right, so I'm gonna grab my selection tool and I'm just gonna move this around. Okay, so that's a great start. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually going to bring this down so that it's sitting above the eyeball layer. And we're gonna go over to our effects and presets, and we're gonna make the eyeball a mask for the shadow layer. And I should go ahead and rename this shadow. Okay. So over in our effects and presets, let's go ahead and search for set, and you should see a set matte option here. So I have my shadow layer selected, so I'm just going to double click that, and then you'll see that set matte is up here. We want the source, or I'm sorry, the take matte from layer. So we need to change this from shadow to the eyeball layer. And then you're going to see that this eyeball becomes a cookie cutter for the layer sitting on top of it, right? So this layer is only going to show where there are pixels of the eyeball. So that's perfect. That is all we need to do. And the next effect that we're going to do is what is going to create that lovely grain for us. And that is going to be the roughen edges effect right here. So I'm going to go ahead and double click that, and it adds, and you can already see there's a little bit of an effect here, but we are going to go ahead and do some manipulations here. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to bring up the border. It's set at 8 by default, but we're actually just click on that and type in like 150. So we're going to make it pretty big. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our scale way down. So we're bringing up the border to 150, and then we're taking the scale and let's just bring that down to 10. And you should get this nice sort of grainy look going on. And so you can see how this has created a little bit of a shadow. I do think that my shape needs to be bigger, so I'm going to go in and manipulate that actually. And I think what I can do is just bring the scale up. Like so. And then I think what I need to do also is make sure that the roughen edges is on top. So there we go. That's the issue. It's all about that hierarchy. Okay, so roughen edges is on top of the set matte, and that is what we need to happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this like so. And I'd almost like to get a little bit more curvature. So I'm going to go into the contents here, into the shape and into the path. And I'm just going to manipulate this a little further so that I'm really getting that nice curve. So I'm going to really curve it, and then I'm going to move it in. And I think that's looking a little bit better for sure. Okay, so we brought the border up to 150. We dropped scale down to 10. The other thing you can do is the edge type can be manipulated as well. So you can kind of look at the different options here. Spiky is something that I have a setting set to in the first one that I did. And it gives it a little bit different edge. So you can play around with these and see which one you like. I'm going to go ahead and go with spiky.